if we can't function in a way that benefits all, to me, it's all pointless.
I would agree with that. I mean, the thing about it is, a lot of these groups will say, well, we're the real Democrats. We're the real hardcore Republican Party. We're the real ones. I'm like, is there a difference?
Right.
Like you're all still underneath the same flag, right? Like,
yeah.
Please help me get more information on it, because again, the way I see it, you all are in the same boat.
Yeah. So I'm gonna run through these right quick. So you got full democracies, which are nations where civil liberties and fundamental political freedoms are not only respected, but also reinforced by a political culture conducive to the thriving of democratic principles. These nations have a valid system of governmental checks and balances, an independent judiciary whose decisions are enforced, governments that function adequately, and diverse and independent media. These nations have only limited problems in democratic functioning. So those are countries that are full democracy. Flawed democracy, which the United States fall under, are nations where elections are fair and free and basic civil liberties are honored, but may have issues, meaning media freedom, infringement, and minor suppression of political oppositions and critics. These nations have significant faults in other democratic aspects, including underdeveloped political culture, low levels of participation in politics, and issues in the functioning of governance. Then you have hybrid regimes. Those are nations with regular electoral frauds, preventing them from being fair and free democracies. These nations commonly have governments that apply pressure on political opposition, non-independent judiciaries, widespread corruption, harassment, and pressure placed on the media, anemic rule of law, and are more pronounced faults than flawed democracies in the realms of underdeveloped political culture, low levels of participation in politics, and issues in functioning of governance. I think Dubai might fall under that one, but I'm not exactly sure. And then you have authoritarian regimes. Those are the nations where political pluralism is non-existent or severely limited. These nations are often absolute monarchies or dictatorships, may have some conventional institution of democracy, but with meager significance. Infringements and abuses on civil liberties are commonplace. Elections, if they take place, are not fair and free, including sham elections. The media is often state-owned or controlled by groups associated with the ruling regime. The judiciary is not independent, and censorship and suppression of governmental criticism are commonplace. And countries that I think that come to mind that are like that are most Muslim countries. North Korea, Russia is like that. I think China is like that. But it's quite a lot of countries that fall in them. But we talking about democracy and flawed democracy, which is what we're more familiar with flawed democracy.
Right. I mean, one thing I realized when I was over there. I was out one night and I was just walking around, and the thought occurred to me that what's the difference in between a nation that's ruled by a king and a nation that's ruled by a
president?
No, not a president, but a dictator. I mean,
those are one and the same, because it's usually that one person. I mean, they have, political parties, but it's usually that one person. That person usually rules for unnamed amount of years or whatever the case may be. In a lot of cases, like with countries with kings, it's usually passed down to a son or something like that.
Yeah.
Dictatorships like in Russia, in North Korea, well, not North Korea, in like Russia, their dictators like Putin, he's been the president of Russia, dictator, whatever you want to call it. He's been in there for quite some time. And I do know if like uh, Alexei Navalny, whatever his name was, he had a lot of beef with Putin.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard anything from that dude since he went back to Russia, because he left Russia, but he went back because he felt like he had to be there with his supporters and all that. But he got back to Russia, they threw his ass in jail. So dictators and kings, to me, it's like one and the same, but it depends on where in the world it is, because like when you think of places like Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and stuff like that, you really don't hear about all that nonsense that's going on in a lot of other places. So I don't know, man. I mean, I guess it that's something that lends to more looking into and getting a greater understanding for. But dictator and king, that's one person, and they rule for however long they rule.
Yeah. While I was walking, I was just thinking about it though, and I was like, the only true difference I think there is with a king, he's more likely to be loved by his people.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people within, his country that might not think too highly of him for whatever reason. But then when you have a dictator, they're going to fear him more than love him. So one rules with a loving iron fist, and the other one rules with a fearing iron fist. Either way, they set the rules, and if you can't follow those rules, that's when you're going to find yourself, in a predicament.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did notice, or one thing I would say I admired about Dubai is, again, the whole entire time I was there, and this is the honest truth, people, I only saw 3 police cars the whole entire 8 days or so that I was there. And I'm thinking to myself, this is insane. Like, this is insane. There are no cops out like that. I mean, in the airport, I saw police officers, and at the hotel we were at, I might have saw 1 police officer come through. But again, the whole entire time, only 3 police cars. Like, where do they do that at? Because the thing about it is, the rules over there are pretty strict. Mm-hmm. And if you can't abide by those rules, you're going to face the consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
With my own 2 eyes, I saw both people from within that country and people from on the outside of that country, like literally put down their bags in public and walk off and stay gone for who knows how long and come back, and their bag was still there. So thieving is one thing they do not tolerate over there. Like, there are very severe consequences for stealing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if I was in the U.S., if someone would put down their bag within the first 3 minutes, if that long, gone.
Right.
So it was kind of like, even though they live in a nation, that's ruled by a king, his rules and his laws are abided by.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've never been to a country where a dictator was in charge, but I could assume that they live by those same rules and principles, for the most part. That's where here in a country that's, that's a democracy, if you get caught stealing something, you're going to have who knows how many, for lack of a better word, chances to, appeal a court ruling or a judge's ruling. But over there, it's like, you know what the rules are, son. You cross the rules, so, prepare to pay the piper, as they say.
Yeah, but we gonna get into that crime and punishment thing a little later. But the interesting thing about that, two things. It depends on what country you're in when it comes to a democracy, monarchy, dictatorship, whatever to call it. It really depends on the country that you're in. Because I know Russia has a lot of Russian crime over there, but I don't know how they treat that. I don't want to speak on it.
Right.
I don't know how it is in North Korea with their communism shit. But here it's wild. But the last thing I wanted to say before we break out and hop into our next segment is when Americans go to places like Dubai, they have a lot of act right with them. And when I think about that, it's like, y'all know if y'all go over there and cut the hell up, it's going to be some repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't act right here. So it helped me understand this mindset of, if you can act right going into another country when you ready to go turn up, but you're here, you're so comfortable and you can't act right. I don't understand it sometimes, but I get it, but I don't understand it. Who wants to get locked up abroad, especially in a country like that?
Exactly. Like, it was crazy to me. Another thing was, like, again, let's say, no, I'll save it. But the whole entire time I was there, I might have heard like 4 people blow their horn at another car simply because they didn't think that other car saw them while they were switching lanes.
I think that might be a crime over there to be honking your horn at people.
Acting crazy and talking loud. No.
And they don't really talk loud over there, like, for the most part, from what I've seen. But, I've seen videos online where people be getting out the gate, but for the most part, it's like a lot of them is mellow.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know if it's like that South Florida vibe, really. Everything's so laid back and, easy peasy. It's kind of like everybody know what the rules are. They abide by the rules. And
they respect it.
Yeah. We'll go by that.
Yeah.
They just know what's going to happen if you step outside of those guidelines. Like, It's not going to be easy on you, bro.
Right. You want to catch the boom boom, or you want to act right? Choice is yours.
Okay.
Choice is yours. But ladies and gentlemen, hey, King and I Life podcast. Hey, if you're catching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, or hit that bell notification. If you listen to this on whatever podcast platform that you subscribe to, or whatever case may be, hey, share it. Of course, there's going to be a little survey with each segment or each episode. So hit that up. Son, so let's what you got for them before we break out.
Yeah. Again, you guys, just, man, hit that like, share, and subscribe. Help us get that count up, because we're doing this for the people, me and Soul Toucher. We are not receiving not one dime, not one penny, not one quarter, not $1 for what we do. We just enjoy what we do, and we love, bringing our podcast platform forth to the people, as they say.
Oh yeah.
So again, just help us out by doing that for us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And we'll be back. We'll be back.
For sure.